So, is White Party Bangkok worth going to? Yes. Like, oh my god, you guys, there are just so many hot guys and they're all just
So good and tasty.
But in all seriousness, it was a really good time. But I do think White Party itself is not for everyone. But there are other things that are surrounding White Party that make coming to Bangkok very worth it, in my opinion, which I'll get into in this video. If you are someone who has never been to White Party before, or has never been to a circuit party, or at least never been to a circuit party in Asia, this video is for you. In this video, I'll be talking about my experience attending only one of the days of White Party Bangkok, but I'll also be talking about everything surrounding White Party, the events, the vibe of Bangkok, and whether or not a trip to Bangkok during White Party season is something that you would find value in. So yeah, let's just get started. And let's start with a White Party. Okay, so I'll be the first to admit it. I did not want to go to White Party. And I had absolutely no plans in going. And the only reason why I went was because I met this really cool group of gays who invited me to come with them. And you know, upon checking the website and finding out that there were still single day tickets available, I was like, you know what? Fuck it, let's go, baby. So yeah, super last minute attendance. I literally bought the ticket as my friends were getting ready to go to the party. But anyways, for this year, the event was held at CM Paragon. And the day that I went was the military ball, which I believe was on the 28th. Now, before I get into my personal experience of attending White Party Bangkok, let me first go over the physical attributes of the event, such as the venue, the bathrooms, the production, and the music, etc., etc. So let's just talk about the venue first. So like I said, the event was held in CM Paragon, and that's basically a mall. But despite being in a mall, the venue was actually like really huge. Picking up your wristbands was super easy, and going through security was also super fast. But then again, I went on the second day, so I'm assuming most people, they picked up their wristbands on the first day. So, you know, I was probably lucky in that regard. But just talking personally for me, it was super fast and super easy to get my wristbands and just go straight into the event. The path to the venue was also super cute. There were like a lot of places to stop and take pictures at. There's like a booth that was giving out like free tattoos that you can stick on yourself. And as you can see, the drinks were pretty expensive. And the way everything is set up is like your typical rave party event. There's a pay station where you can top up your wristband using cash or credit. And once you put your money in the wristband, you can buy, you know, whatever you want, and there's no refunds. And as for the stage looked like this, and pretty much the distribution of the gays that were attending was pretty much like this. Like, this is just some random map I found online, and I have to say, like, for the most part, this was super accurate. If you're going to White Party for the first time, you can pretty much expect these kinds of groups clustering together. Maybe not in this specific formation, but like, basically this is the kind of crowd you're gonna find at White Party. Now, I had a GA ticket, so I had to use the GA bathrooms. And the GA bathrooms were like on the back side of the atrium, like this random warehousey looking area, and they just set up like a bunch of porta potties in that space. And you know, it's your standard porta potty affair. For VIP ticket holders, the bathrooms were like the actual mall bathrooms themselves. But the thing to note about the VIP bathrooms was that they were pretty tight on security, so when you queued up to go in and out of the bathrooms, they checked your bags. So yeah, it's a little bit more annoying, and also it obviously eats up like the time it takes to go in and out of the bathrooms. So you know, just keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the production. Now I'm gonna be very honest here. I was not really paying attention to the production. Like, there were performers, right? Like your standard go-go boys, and also like I noticed these very cool aerial silk dancers. And like, you know, sometimes there were times where like the spotlights would drop to the crowd and like lasers would start firing everywhere. But it was all like the standard affair for me, you know? And the only reason why I'm even talking about this is because I was on Instagram and I noticed that one of the gays that I was following was complaining on the story about the lack of production. And they were saying that they were very disappointed in White Party's production this year. And I was like, oh, okay. I had no idea people actually paid attention and cared about the production at White Party. Like, for me, it was always like filler background stuff, and it just like makes me wonder what kind of production this gay has seen before that made them so disappointed in this year's production. Because for me, it was like an above average production. But then, you know, I'm not someone who really looks at the production. They're just like I said, for me, they're like background stuff. It's not really the main attraction of going to White Party. Like, what I saw at White Party, I thought was pretty decent. Like, nothing blew my mind, but I thought it was like maybe a little bit better than your average circuit party affair. But I guess that's why that particular gay was disappointed, because it was just a little bit better than average than your regular circuit party. So I guess if you're new and are planning to come to White Party for the first time, I guess I just recommend going in expecting your regular circuit party affair. Don't expect anything jaw-dropping, aka just some, you know, go-go boys and regular performances, so that, you know, you can keep your expectations tempered. So that if in a future White Party event where they go like, you know, super insane style with the production, like what that Instagram gay was talking about, then you can consider yourself lucky that you got to experience something like that, and you won't be disappointed, and you'll just be like, you know, be in awe of the production. And as for the music, well, you can just take a listen for yourself.
Electrica salsa.
Now, if you're someone who likes that kind of drop, then you're gonna have fun at this event. You're gonna enjoy it. But if you're someone like me who prefers something a bit more like dubsteppy, more wubby, then you might have a tough time. You may need some alcohol and you might need to get absolutely blasted for you to like ignore the music, because if you're someone who like going to events for the music, you're gonna struggle here. Because honestly, if I had to sit through my party completely sober listening to that, I think I would have lost my mind. Because even though there were like a lot of hot boys, oh my god, there's nothing worse than trying to talk to a hot boy while being painfully sober. Anyways, now that you have the baseline knowledge of the event, let's talk about my personal experience of actually being there. Now, if you've seen my other YouTube videos, namely the last one that I made about a circuit party, you would know that I am not someone who enjoys circuit parties. Mainly that's because I find that the vibe at circuit parties makes me feel as though it's like more of a hunting ground or something, where gays are like essentially only there just to find someone to hook up with. So for me, it kind of just feels like a big old sauna without the dark room and just like less sober people. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, you know? There's nothing wrong with that at all. But it's just like not the kind of vibe I would enjoy when I'm going out to a event, you know? And I will admit there is a little bit of that vibe here, that, you know, that hunting vibe here. But I was also surprised to see that the people here were generally friendlier. And like, you know, people were talking to me. But like I said, the main reason why I dislike circuit parties is because of that general vibe of like hunting. And because of that general vibe, I feel like it makes it harder for me to actually approach people and to talk to people and to try to make new friends. Because as soon as I talk to someone, I feel like they feel like that I'm just trying to hook up with them, you know, or like hit on them or something. And I don't blame them for feeling that way, because it's just the nature of these kinds of events. It's just the vibe that we're in, you know? And I fully admit that I am a little bit hypocritical, because sometimes when a guy approaches me at this kind of event, I also feel sort of the same way. I just assume that they're trying to hit on me unless they state otherwise, or there's something about their vibe that makes me feel safe around them. You know what I mean? But anyways, just because of how physical these events usually are, for me, making friends at these kinds of events has always been kind of a challenge. Unlike raves, where I find like it's much more easier to just dance and groove with someone and share good vibes with them and then potentially just become friends, like naturally that way. But then I also fully admit that maybe it's just a skill issue. I fully acknowledge that maybe I'm not the most suave or most confident person around. So it may be a little bit harder for me to find friends at these kinds of events, especially when I feel intimidated by a lot of them. You know, big muscly guys everywhere. You know, it's hard for me. Like I get like anxious. But despite that, like I said, I did find that White Party was generally a lot friendlier than other circuit parties that I've been to. And I think it may be partly because of the more international crowd that was there. Like the majority is still Asian, but the Asians are from like, you know, Australia, America, like, you know, all over the place. And because of that, the typical resistance that you might find from like an Asian circuit party or like an Asian gay bar, gay event, where people are generally a lot more reserved and cold and walled off. Like it's like a little bit less here, especially in the VIP area of White Party. Specifically on the left side, where I found like it was more specifically American Asians that were there. It was much easier to just vibe and hang around there. And I feel like people were just generally friendlier. Like you can smile at someone and they'll smile back at you. Maybe you can talk to them for a little bit. Unlike in other places where if you smile at someone, they might just turn away or just completely ignore you and pretend you don't exist. So no matter if you're someone who's just looking for someone to hook up with, or if you're someone who's actually looking for a genuine connection, like someone to become friends with, I do think your chances of finding whatever it is that you're looking for is statistically quite high here. However, it really does kind of depend on you. Like if you're like me, like not to toot my own horn or whatever, but like I'm generally a fun, more outgoing kind of person when I attend these kinds of events. However, if the vibe around me is like not super great, I'm like I'm pretty sensitive to that, and I'll reflect that in my demeanor. Like it only takes like a few bad experiences for me at an event for me to kind of turn into an introvert for the rest of the night. Point is that you're kind of like me and you kind of need like other people to have fun around you for you to kind of like feed off of their energy and have fun as well. Like I recommend coming in with at least 1 or 2 people so they can kind of be your rock, you know? And if you're someone who's worried about potentially not fitting in, like if you're worried that your body isn't like, you know, good enough to be there, I hear you. Okay, I understand. This is something I worry about often too, as well, when I hang out with like these gay-centric groups. And I'm not gonna lie to you, at White Party, I felt like the bulk of the people that were there were generally just, you know, fit. Like whether they were the typical bodybuilder physique with like the big muscles and that kind of stuff, or if like they were the slimmer, leaner, slim athlete kind of physique, or just like Twinkie. It just generally felt like the attendees took care of themselves in whatever way that means for them. But I promise you, even though it feels like that's the majority, you will find people with all different kinds of shapes and sizes just wandering around. And look, even in the worst case scenario, where you are the only one with an average body in like a sea of like body gods, like who cares? All right, those bodyguards had to have started somewhere. And like even just statistically, there has to be a bodyguard who is not interested in other bodyguards. And guess what? Those bodyguards are more likely to have body dysmorphia. So they probably don't think that they're hot as they actually are, which is your your chance to swoop right in and nab them. But in all seriousness, I don't think you have to worry about your physicality when you're attending white party, because like even in the worst case scenario where you encounter like the biggest asshole in the world, like someone who completely looks down on you and thinks you don't even deserve to be seen with them because of how hot they are, and like they completely ignore you because of that, or even worse, they actually insult you directly. Even in that scenario, I'd say good. Thanks for doing that, because good riddance. Honestly, I trained myself to think of those kind of moments as a blessing, because all that is just confirmation that that person
What is that?
is just not for you. That trash has removed itself. And obviously that's probably not gonna happen, right? That's just like the worst case scenario. And even then, it's not that bad. You know what I mean? Honestly, I'm fairly certain that no matter who you are, what kind of person you are, what kind of body type you are, you will find the kind of people that you're trying to look for, whether that be a friend or a hookup or whatever. Just because of the sheer numbers of attendees that attend white party, just statistically, there has gotta be someone in that crowd who is a perfect match for you in terms of whatever you're looking for. And if not, I mean, I guess it's just down to luck, or maybe you're an asshole. I don't know. I'm just kidding, by the way. But the point I'm trying to make is basically you are good enough to attend white party. So you don't need to feel insecure or any of that. But anyways, that was my experience with white party. And even though I thought white party was, you know, a good time, despite me not really liking certain parties, I don't think white party would actually be the reason why I'd go back to Bangkok during white party season. Because my favorite thing about white party was what happened after white party. Basically, it was after white party where I attended my very first Homepa. And if you're like me and you had no idea what a Homepa was, don't worry, I'm about to give you a rundown, okay? So a Homepa is basically a house party that is made specifically for the gays. Hosted by gays, made for gays. My friend said that the concept of a Homepa actually originated in Taiwan as a way for gay people to kind of create a safer space for themselves during a time where it was, you know, not widely accepted to be gay yet. And the concept was once attendees, you know, entered the Homepa, everyone was required to strip into their underwear. And the idea is if everyone is in their underwear, everyone is like reduced to their base level, you know? It like equalizes everyone from like a wealth and social status kind of way, which I don't really necessarily agree with per se, but that's, you know, a conversation for another time. But anyways, since this was my first ever Homepa, you can imagine my surprise when I walked in there and was told to strip into my undies. It was like I was hit with like a infinite Tsukuyomi, right? I was just like... And I will admit, because of that initial scare, it took me like a little while to get kind of comfortable in that space. I just kept thinking things like, oh my God, why didn't I wear sexier underwear that day? Or like, oh my God, what if I have like, you know, a giant sweat stain in my ass crack because I was like dancing so hard at white party or something, you know? Like, I was just like a Pokemon. I was hurting myself with my own thoughts and confusion. But once I was settled, I'd have to say, attending a Homepa is just infinitely more fun than going to a circuit party. So the thing about Homepas is that they are a private event. Yes, it is kind of like a smaller circuit party with, you know, all the almost nude men walking around and the loud music, kind of circuit party like. But ultimately, a Homepa is literally just a gay guy or a group of gay guys inviting a bunch of their friends and friends of friends into their home or perhaps a space that they rented out for a night. And because of that, you get the best part of a circuit party, in that everyone is like really hot and very friendly. Because like everyone in that space at the Homepa is like a friend of a friend. Like they all kind of sort of know each other already, or at the very least, you know someone that they know, or vice versa. And it, you know, becomes a very great conversation starter. And like, because everyone's like sort of like a friend of a friend, the usual resistance you might find at a circuit party when you're talking to a complete stranger is like much less. Honestly, it's like a giant networking event, but a lot more fun. Like when I was there, I got to meet so many cool people who I, you know, actually consider friends now. And honestly, if I saw them at white party, I don't think I would have been able to talk to them. I would have just been intimidated, you know? But because I got to meet them at a Homepa where it's like a lot more comfortable, despite the almost nude setting, like it was just generally a lot more fun and approachable. It was just a good time, you know? But of course, as gays do, there may be some spicy things that are happening at Homepas, but I just want to reiterate that that's generally not the point of it. Yes, there are Homepas that are specifically for that, they're called sex pas, but in general, just think of Homepas as a smaller scale circuit party, but at like a much friendlier vibe. That being said, I understand that I am very, very new to the Homepa scene, and I can already understand that there is like a element of exclusivity to the Homepas that could be problematic. Like, in order to attend a Homepa, you have to be invited to one, right? And that can only really come from, knowing people and being friends with people, or, if you're just super hot and everyone wants you to come. So I do understand the criticism that some people have brought up in terms of the exclusivity and the elitism that may come from Homepas. Like, I am sure there are Homepas where there is a looks requirement and you can only get in if you're like super hot or something. And like, this is a huge topic that I can make a separate video about, but like, in general, the way I like to think of it currently, these are my current thoughts on the matter. I just think the people who are hosting Homepas are using their time, their money, and their effort to create a safe space for them to share with their friends and the people that they want to befriend. And I think that's in their right to do. Obviously, how they go about doing that could be, a discussion for later. But I'm talking about purely from an perspective of being an attendee for these events. Ultimately, like, we are the guests, right? And we should respect a person's decision to want to include us into things or include other people into things or not, especially if these people, the hosts, are like basically fronting the risk of creating a space like this, especially like in countries where it's illegal to be gay, or if like, if something happens at the Homepa, they are the ones responsible for it because they are the ones hosting it, right? So because they have all the risks and they are the ones who are putting the time and effort into it, like, I think it's within their right to, include whoever they want to include, whether that be you or not. And that's just generally how I think about Homepas currently. Like, if you don't get invited to a Homepa, like, it can suck, especially if you're watching all your friends attend the Homepa, but like, ultimately it's not something you're entitled to, right? I know as humans you want to be included into things, but we also got to understand that like, maybe someone is just not comfortable having you around for whatever reason it may be, and you need to respect their decision to like create a safe space for them. It may hurt you in the moment, but like, ultimately it just is what it is. Now, how do you even get invited to a Homepa in the first place? Especially if you're completely new to the scene and you don't know anyone in Bangkok or whatever city you're visiting, and maybe this will be like your very first white party and you don't know anyone. Honestly, this is a huge topic in itself, and I'll definitely be making a video in the future about Homepas and this in general. So if that interests you, please consider subscribing to my channel so you can know when that video drops. And also, while you're at it, feel free to give me a like because it's free and is the best way for you to support me besides, just watching to the end in general. Help me get more money, you guys. Give me a like. Thank you, please. Thank you. But anyways, Homepas were such a great and integral part of my experience in Bangkok during my party season, and I just felt like I had to mention it. It would be like disingenuous if I didn't mention it, right? Like, in my opinion, it's just way more fun than the official parties, and it's like the main reason why I would ever consider going back to white party. Anyways, let's talk about the vibe of Bangkok and whether or not a trip to Bangkok during white party season is something that you should consider doing. In general, I'd say yes, you should come to Bangkok at least once during white party season. I mean, the vibes of Bangkok, specifically in the Silom area and the surrounding neighborhood, is just like, I've never been in a city or a country or place in general where I felt like I was the majority, where I can look at almost any guy that's on the street just walking by me and like not have to wonder if that guy is gay or not. This is the only time and place where you can feel right at home. Straight be gone. Like, the only reasons why I'd recommend not coming to White Party Bangkok is if, one, you are not a rice queen. If you don't generally find Asian people attractive, well, there's going to be a lot of Asians. Like, yes, there are a lot of people who come from all over the world to visit Thailand during White Party season, so you will see some ethnic diversity, but they won't be the majority. And those international people, it's probably safe to assume that they are also probably rice queens, or at the very least they enjoy the company of Asian men from time to time. So I just don't know if you'd find any enjoyment if you were to come here. Like, I don't think this would be the event for you. Maybe try Fire Island instead. I don't know. Two, I would not recommend coming here if you are supremely introverted or you aren't a party person. Now, in general, I think you should come here even if you are just like a little bit shy. But if you are someone who just absolutely abhors the nightlife and drinking and partying and being in large crowds in general, then I just don't think it'll be worth it to come to Bangkok during White Party season. Because I'd assume that the gays that do make the trip to come to Bangkok during White Party season, they're like definitely here to party, you know? Now, there may be like chiller events that are happening throughout White Party season, but I just like, I just don't know of any of them, and I just don't know where or what that might be. You could just come by during this time just to attend the gay saunas and that kind of stuff, because honestly, there is gonna be so much eye candy during this time. But then again, it's likely that the bulk of them will be attending White Party. Some of them might skip out on a day or two, so you may be able to catch them on their off days at the gay saunas and that kind of stuff, and that might be your chance to grab them. So, it may be worth it for you to come to Bangkok during this time for that reason. But just in general, like, people come here to party, and if you just aren't that kind of person, then I feel like you'll be missing out on a lot of the stuff that's available during this time. Number three, I would not recommend coming to Bangkok during White Party season even if you're planning on going completely and totally alone. Now, I'm not saying that you couldn't go alone. If you're someone who's like super extroverted and you're sure that you can find friends easily, then yeah, like just go ahead. But for me personally, I just feel as though I was just like super lucky that I had like one friend in particular to like hang out with for the week. And it was through that one friend where I got to meet like his friends and like just this really cool group of gays who ended up being like really good friends, and like they just took me around everywhere, and like they took me to these events and Homepas and all this kind of stuff. Like they were the highlight for me for sure. But if it was just me going by myself, like I don't think I would have been able to meet and make new friends that easily. Like I think I'm generally pretty sociable, but like if I went to white party alone, I think I would be able to find friendly people, but I think I would struggle actually becoming friends with them on the spot, on the dance floor of white party, you know what I mean? Again, this could be a skill issue. Maybe I'm just not the greatest at making friends at these kinds of events when I'm by myself. But overall, I just think it would be much easier and it would be a great benefit to you if you went to white party with at least one other person. And number 4, I would not recommend coming to Bangkok during white party season if you have an addictive personality and or you're going through a really tough time. Like, okay, there's nothing wrong with going on vacation in order to have like a mental health break or something. But like, and this is kind of personal, but there was a time in my life where when I was first introduced to like the raving scene and all that kind of stuff, I was maybe not in the greatest state of mind. And I definitely used raving as an escape. And because of that, I made so many mistakes in my interpersonal life and I blew up so much money. And like looking back, I don't necessarily regret the things that happened, but I definitely think there was a healthier way for me to learn the lessons that I've learned. And knowing that what I know now, like I just don't want someone to, you know, do what I did and cling on to these events and use these events as a way to escape the trials and tribulations in their life. Because you're gonna have a lot of fun and you're probably gonna, you know, encounter many different new things. And I can definitely see how someone can just get addicted to all of that and just fall headfirst into something and then continue to spiral and use these events to continue to escape, and then something potentially very dangerous could happen because of, you know, your lack of restraint, especially if like you're not in the right headspace, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is, you know, sort yourself out first. Come to white party as a celebration for your life, not as an escape from it, you know? But yeah, other than those reasons, I don't see why you shouldn't come to white party Bangkok if you're gay. It's just like so much fun, and the potential you have for like meeting all different kinds of really cool, interesting new people. It's just like, you know.
The prophecy is true.
I definitely think gays of all shapes and sizes should come to Bangkok during white party season at least once, because it really is just like a little pocket of gay paradise, and it really is just nice to be the majority for once, you know? But anyways, thank you so much for watching to the end of this video and supporting me. If you want to support me even more, hit that like button so I can get more views and monies. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, if you want. I have so many videos to make about Thailand. Like I already had quite the backlog of videos to make before going to Thailand for New Year's, and now I'm just like, oh my god. Also, if you're planning to come to Vietnam and are in need of a private tour guide, feel free to reach out to me via my Instagram or on my website. Thank you for those of you who did reach out. I really hope you enjoyed our time together, because I certainly did. And yeah, just like thank you guys for everything. It was such a great time attending White Party Bangkok, and I'm so happy to like, you know, be able to talk about my experiences and share it with all you guys, and to know that you guys are actually interested in what I have to say. It's like really, it's all just a really humbling experience, and I just really appreciate all of you. So thank you all for listening. Let me know if you have any ideas or things you want me to talk about in the future. And yeah, that's everything I had to say for now. So see you.